My name is Samveg.
I'm Kuldeep,
So, what are we doing here, right? Welcome to the series of Entrepreneurship Guide for College Students.
where we are sharing everything that a college student should know before and while learning this startup in college.
So, what's in it for today, Kuldeep? Well, it's one of the most important things, design thinking. So, welcome to the chapter 3, Entrepreneurship to Guide for College Students, chapter 3.
Well, what is a framework, Samveg?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Before jumping into design thinking, what is framework, right? So, framework is basically anything that has a particular routine, say, or a particular steps to follow. Design thinking is one of the framework. If I break it to you in very simple terms, you get up in the morning, you brush first, and then sit in front of your laptop, right? So that is something which you have been following throughout your life, right? So that's basically your framework of how a morning routine goes up.
Yeah.
So anything that has particular steps is basically a framework. So what is design thinking, Kuldeep?
Design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenging assumptions, and redefine problems in
A few moments later.
prototyping and testing. Design thinking also involves
Kuldeep, aren't you the Chatur Ramalingam? Right. This is very theoretical, guys. This is what exactly you will find whenever you go on internet. Exactly what you will find. A lot of complicated words and whatnot. So let's just understand what design thinking is in a more practical way. Right? It basically has 5 steps. It's as simple as that. No complicated definitions and no complicated uses of that. Right? First is empathize, obviously define, then ideate, prototype, and testing. But what is all this, Kuldeep? Let's start.
Yeah, so the first step that we say is empathize. So whenever we're trying to whenever we are working on a problem or a solution, usually what happens is for example, like we are a developer as of now, so we try to look problems from developers perspective. For example, if they are businessmen, so they will look the problem based on their perspective, but actually the problem is of the target users, and we are often omitting that, we are having our own assumptions, and for example, if I'm a developer and if someone is feeling that that they're not getting their medicines getting delivered in a half an hour, so probably the one solution that will come to my mind or your mind will be to just go and build an app where anyone can order medicines or foods or sort of thing. So but it's not gonna happen, but it's not the solution, right? Because this is what we are assuming, and we actually don't know what is the basic problem, what is the underlying problem that the users are actually facing. So the first term that says is empathize with your customer base, with your users. So first try to look the problem from their perspective, from their angle, from their shoes, and then only move towards the other steps of the design, other steps basically building your solution, or finding better, or anything it can be. The first thing that you should do as per the design thinking is empathize with the users, with the end users who are gonna actually use who are who are actually the stakeholders of the problem. So yeah, empathize with your customer first, then do anything else.
So now we have empathized. Now we have talked to customers. We have known what the problem is. Now what do we do? So basically we define the problem, right? And defining the problem is not just telling, okay, मेरे पास medicines नहीं आ रही, or maybe किसी के लोग people have mental health issues. The problem needs to be defined very precisely. You should have, and the more you clearly define things, the better is it to solve that problem, right? So how do you define that problem? For example, if I find, okay, I'm going to start a startup which was also not like if you try it. Now the definition of the problem there would not have been, okay, we want the initial 10% of the students of India to be our customers, which is definitely the problem for us, because we definitely want 10% of Indian students to use our platform and then be mentally healthy. But rather, the problem should be defined in a more specific way, saying that 33% of the students of India are actually having mental health problems. That's the definition of the problem. Also, you also need to define at the same time that what is not your problem. If you what happens is, usually when you start a startup, you try to solve everything at once. That's one of the mistakes that beginners make. That is something we don't have to do, right? So the narrower you define the problem, the better it is for you, right? So you should, for example, I was talking about mental health. So in case of mental health, 33% of the students in India are having mental health issues. That is the problem. Now, what we should also define on the sideways is that we are not dealing with any kind of mental health issues in the professional services, those who are working, those who have jobs, or that might be some any other sector that is not students. Right? So defining the problem is very important. On to you, Kuldeep.
Okay, so yeah, right now what, like we have empathize with the end user, like we know their pain points, like we have talked with, for example, their students, like who are getting their order, like who have the problem that they are facing is, let's say that they are, like they're facing late deliveries in whatever they order, be it medicine, be it food, be it clothing, or be it anything. So once we empathize, once we have empathize with our user base, like with our customer base, then we define the problem as some vague states, like so there can be, like a lot of problem, like for example, when we empathize with the customers, it can be very very vague, like that there can be like tons of things that they want to be solved. So yeah, firstly, like we, if we have empathize, now we have defined the problem statement by, like basically, as Samveg said, by narrowing down things that we want to do, and also defining things that we are not going to do things. So now, since we know, like we know the specific pain point of the user, we have also defined what we are going to solve. Now we sit together and now we try to ideate, like how we can basically solve that specific problem by means of, like by can or should, like basically, like let's think about, should we make an app for it, should we basically, like try to build a delivery network in that specific area, or should, it can be anything. So basically, in ideation, we basically, like try to sit and try to come up with a lot of solutions, like and the most important thing is, it should be, like judgmental free environment, like because sometimes the solution can be very very easy. So the thing that we have to remember is, like for example, like the solution can be literally very very simple, and we are planning to build, and like build a whole mobile application for this, for solving that specific problem. So yeah, just in addition, we sit together, we try to list down all the solution that come across our mind, and then yeah, we basically, like we cross some ideas that are coming into mind, and we basically put some we just pick some ideas that we may want to work further on, which we think might be the solution for the pain point users, like that. So yeah, on to something.
Well, that's actually correct. You first know the problem, you define it, then you find the idea. So what's next? And the next part is prototyping. Right now, here is what most of the people understand it wrong. Prototyping is not equivalent to an MVP. Just fit this in your mind. What people do is, okay, prototype in design thinking is basically creating an MVP in a startup. It's not that. Prototyping can be as small as analyzing your idea. So what Kuldeep meant was, jot down everything, note down everything, every possible idea from worst to best what you think exists, right? And now in the prototype version, what you do is, for example, if you have UX designers, those designers will make a very basic UX of that particular ideas in place, right? Now that we have an idea in place, we make basic UX and distribute among the team itself, and think what and ask what they have to offer in that particular design. For example, let's take a very simple example. We were solving a problem. Okay, we started with an idea. We have multiple ideas. We initially just wanted to help college students in basically solving their mental health issues on our platform, right? And it started just with counseling and basically reading positive news, positive feeds for them. Now what happened is, as soon as the COVID hit, things pivoted. Colleges were saying, okay, we don't want such kind of platform because students are not there. So what should we do? Now we need to open it to everyone in public, right? Now, if we need to open it to everyone in public, would feeds and counters be okay? No. Then there come a third session where we could have opened forums for us, right? A genuine forums, completely anonymous, where you can just post out your questions and people can answer, right? So we were like, okay, that's cool. Why not use this feature? Just make it and implement that. So we did that. And so whenever you do things, you just bring, you basically just try to put on the ideas into action among your team and then try if it works out. Now comes the last part, and that is testing. So Kuldeep, what according to you would be the best way to test your prototype?
Okay, so as of now, like we have empathized the problem, we have defined the problem, we have basically jot down ideas, and we have sorted some of the ideas in which we wanted to work. We have also started sort of made prototypes and basically started working on it. Now, the fifth step and the final step states that we have to test those things that we have done as of now. For example, as of for example, we are the developer, we are the problem solvers. We have defined the problem, we have thought what we are gonna do, and we have finalized the solution that we want to build. We also build the sort of prototype for it. Now if you want to test, what do you think, what would be the best place to basically test our ideas? Probably you might have guessed it right, that the target users are one of the best set of people who can actually test your hypothesis, who can actually test your prototype, whether it is working, whether it will be useful for them or not. So the thing that we must remember here in this point is, as I said, this testing process should be done with the target user only. For example, if you are trying to build something, if you are for example, someone stated that they wanted to build a platform to help basically students, and as it while testing, if they if they put on professors and just let them use the application to just to just basically test whether their idea is working or not, then probably it will be the worst thing to do, because they are not the end user who are going to use it. So you might get good feedbacks, and you might feel proud that, hey, I have built the solution and all like that, but it actually it's not those people are not those people who are actually going to use it in the end. So yeah, in testing we sort of we pick a we pick a a few people from our target customer base, and then we give a solution to them. We explain our solution to them, and we try to get feedbacks from them, whether it is going to work or it is not going to work. For example, let's think of let's think of a place in Rajasthan, where it is a very sort of sand sort of place, the water is not there for miles, and the females usually carry water in their shoulders, and they basically pull it miles away to their home. So now let's say we have defined this problem, we have ideated on this thing, we have solved of some solution, the solution that let's say we are coming up with is sort of anything. Let's think of we have decided to make an mobile application to basically solve these ladies with transporting the water. So now just think, we have completed this fourth step, we have empathized with our end user, we have defined the problem statement, we have edited upon it, and we have also made some prototype for it. Now for testing, if we go to the people, for example, let's say children who don't drink water, or let's say the men of the house who actually don't carry the water, or so just disclaimer, we're not sort of promoting racism or something like that. It is just an example, just for your understanding. So if we go to those people who actually don't carry the water in their shoulder, and try to bring who basically don't do anything, and if you try to take sort of feedback from them, probably they might say it is a very good solution, hey, yeah, this app looks awesome, the UX is good, and it has a very sleek design, it is very lightweight app, and all sort of things. But those are not our target customers who are actually gonna use those app or like that. So yeah, in this testing stage, we basically do this. We whatever we had done till now, till the first step, we try to test it with the customer base who are actually gonna use it and try to take feedback from it.
So basically, the way I see it is summarizing it in very short is first, you need to have the correct customer base. You need to know who your right customers are. Provide your solution to them. Now, that might not be a complete solution that you were thinking of. That might not be a complete, fully built MVP. It might not be this. It might just be an idea and still be fine. But putting it to the right customer and getting their honest reviews and working on them would be the best way to test out your application. By application, I mean your solution, right? So
One
if you
thing,
have
one
any
thing, one thing,
questions,
one thing,
yeah,
one thing which I would like to add is like it is an iterative process. For example, like this
correct,
is not something
correct.
like some sort of process that you have to do and you are done. It cannot be like because as you move, as you start working on the solution, you start getting like some another micro problems in that specific solution. So like it can be we empathize, we have defined the problem, we have ideated upon it, we have built the prototype, but it can be like that the prototype did not work. So now for example, we don't need to go back to like the first step, like let's again empathize the problem, like because we have empathized it, we have defined the problem, the prototype thing that came from the ideation stage. So now you have to sit back and like you have to sit together and ideate again what can be the solution for the problem that you have defined, right? So this sort of cycle will always be there, and again it can also happen like that we have tested it and like it we just came to know that the problem that we had defined was totally wrong. So then again like we have empathized it, now we go back again to the second step, we again define the problem and like that. So this like this design thinking is sort of a framework like that tells us how you can approach a specific problem, and at the same time it is also a like cyclic sort of process. It is an iterative process. It's not like that we have built a solution and it will be the final one. As we move along with it, like basically we have to keep iterating on ourselves to maybe to improve the product continuously or to improve our solution with the time as it goes. So yeah, Samveg.
Yeah, so that was it for today. Any questions you have, you can post in the comment channel. We'll try to answer you even live now, or if not, you can take it. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, obviously, and ask your questions. So, Kuldeep, what's next? What's coming up next?
Yeah, so thanks for attending our first live session. In the coming videos, we will be covering what's an MVP and how to develop that.
What's an OKR?
How do you interact with your initial customers?
And what's the fancy term funding? So, thank you for joining us again, and stay tuned for all the videos that are coming up. I hope this was useful for you. If yes, if not, let us know in the comments below. And do share it with your friends. Hit the like button. And subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay home.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the